The movie I chose for the final project for the course Sport and Film was Rollerball. The film Rollerball, directed and produced by Norman Jewison, was released in the year 1975. This film stars James Caan, who plays the main character, Jonathan E., Jonathan Houseman, who plays Mr. Bartholomew, and Maud Adams, who plays Ella, along with other well-known stars. This 1975 film is a science fiction sports film based in the future of the year 2018. It centers or focuses on the sport rollerball. The player and team captain, Jonathan E., is the veteran star of the Houston Rollerball team. In this year, countries have been replaced by corporations, and the only recreational sport is an extremely violent game named rollerball. The player mentioned before, Jonathan E., threatens this control corporation companies have on the society. He does this by refusing to retire and fights for his own freedom. The focus of this film was around rollerball and how the leaders of this society use this sport to enforce and exemplify their ideas. According to an outside source, the violent sport of rollerball was created to satisfy man's bloodlust and violent tendencies. It also demonstrates the futility of individualism. An example of how Jonathan threatens the ideas of this society is his skill and longevity. Players are not supposed to make it as far or as long as Jonathan does. This was discussed at the teleconference Bartholomew held for the executives. This conference reveals why Jonathan must retire, and the executives decide the New York versus Houston game will be played with no time limit, no substitutions, and no penalties. The executives are hoping that if Jonathan disobeys their wishes again and plays in this game, he will be killed. The original setting of this film was 2018, which is very interesting because that is basically today's current setting. When comparing the societal aspect of sport in this film versus today, one similarity is the role corporations play. In the film, it was much more obvious the voice corporations held. For example, they were able/trying to push Jonathan to retire. Jonathan is a player loved by everyone that is still producing great game statistics and is the star of their team, the Houston Rollerballs. They could also easily change critical rules to the game. In today's society, it may not be as obvious, but big corporations can make important decisions for sport franchises. Corporations today have influence on what goes inside the stadium, such as stores, restaurants, and other vendors. Another idea in this film that is relevant in the societal aspect of sport today is how the people in charge, such as the executives, use the athletes for their own personal gain and benefit. The executives clearly don't care about these rollerball athletes because they limited substitutions and changed the penalties rule. In today's sports society, athletes are pushed to and sometimes past their limit because of the pressure put on them to win. This pressure is applied by the owners and other people of power that benefit or make money from these players and off these games. When asked if I would personally recommend this film, I would have to say no. I would never recommend this film to a friend or family. Even though this film is considered to be a cult classic, I found it kind of hard to follow, and considering it was supposed to be futuristic because it was filmed in 1975, I found a lot of the scenes to be outdated, and that the animation, not that there was animation, I didn't think that the filming was very good. I didn't think the scenes were, they weren't futuristic at all. There was also a lot of strange sexual scenes present in this movie. For example, the executives took Jonathan E.'s wife because one of them fancied her. I was also uncomfortable with all of the touching during the party for the release of Jonathan's special, and some things just seemed unnecessary and unrealistic that didn't really need to be included in the film. An example of something that I thought was unrealistic was Jonathan's best friend Moon Pie was attacked during the Tokyo game. He was punched in the head, which left him brain dead. That scene had a lot of unnecessary added parts to it. For example, the slow motion of him falling, and then they replayed it over and over again of him falling onto the ground when after he was hit in the head. He wasn't killed during the game, although he was considered brain dead after, and he was gonna have to be taken off life support. Finally, I wish this film had more humor to it and less scenes of them playing rollerball. The camera angles used to film those scenes, it was kind of hard to follow because they never showed like a wide screen angle, and so it was hard to follow the flow of the game and to understand the rules of the game. So I just found this film to be overall confusing, not very interesting, and kind of unrealistic. So no, I would not recommend it.